Hello and welcome everyone to our regular DevSync. We'll share updates from the last week and plans for the immediate future. And Wed, please start first today.
Hey everyone. Last week was mostly focused on implementing the light client as per the spec that we've discussed a few weeks back. Uh, Again, we started with something basic, not the full light client implementation with some to-dos in there because not everything is ready for us to actually build a full light client as a moment. There is a PR out there regarding that. It's in review. Uh, Post that, this week I want to continue focusing on that to clear out some more to-dos, and maybe the next steps would be to ideally discuss with Jeremiah and Dushang in the next upcoming calls how we want to proceed on that post this initial primitive implementation.
Okay, any questions to Wed? Okay, I don't have any. Thank you, Wed. Lucheng, what about you?
Okay, sure. So last week I fixed some executor-related to-dos, like adding back pressure for submitting various proof-related unsigned extrinsic to the primary node, like speeding up the overall executor test and a few other minor things. Another thing I'm working on is writing some document on the domains implementation plan. Regarding this week, I think we'll discuss the next step for the domains tomorrow and then decide what to do afterwards. Yeah, that's my updates.
Okay, any comments from the team? Awesome, thank you. Serge, you're next.
I was working on Subspace desktop as usual. One feature I was working is the next iteration for the Tauri updater that will introduce polling, periodic polling for the update from our UI application. And it will also introduce the menu item to install updates if there is a newer version. I still need to clarify some user behavior probably tomorrow on the AppSync. Other than that, last time I was mentioning there was an issue I created related to block height, which sometimes can be confusing for the users if node is connected to the peers who are still syncing. So the block height can be like significantly smaller than the actual block height on the chain, the one we see on Polkadot.apps, for example. So yeah, we had some discussions with Nazar, and eventually it was decided that we keep it as is for now. I have some suggestions. How can we make it a little bit better for the user to clarify and avoid some confusion? We can discuss it tomorrow as well. Other than that, there was a small PR with refactoring of mnemonic model. And I was also doing some experiments with Pinia library. This is a library for state management for Vue.js applications. Yeah, also something to share for on the meeting tomorrow. That's all.
And do we plan to issue another update for the desktop app anytime soon to include that updater feature?
Yeah, I think we need it because I need it for the next iteration for the updater feature. Because last update, last release was like 3 weeks ago, so we definitely need a newer version.
Okay, and will it support upgrading from like Gemini 1 to Gemini 2 or something like that? Does it even care about that?
I think it only cares. Yeah, it only cares about the version.
Okay. Okay, cool. Any other questions from the team? All right, Ivan, you are next.
Yeah, sure. So last week I was working on the DSN integration test. Yeah, at first I was making I was applying the fixes related to the DSN to make it like work. Yeah, right now working on that. I'm fixing some eventual some eventual like wrong DSN singing. Yeah, still doing that. Yeah. We'll do continue doing that this week.
Okay, do you have any idea of how much time it will take?
I'm not sure actually. Yeah, I guess I can do that this week. Yeah, if there will be no result, I can move on to somewhere or pass it to you maybe.
Okay, I think both me and Shamil can help you with that, just to make sure it moves forward quicker. And you finalized the pull request on the Parity TV, right?
No.
No, not yet. Okay.
No. I can do that. Yeah.
I think we need to fix the DSN sync first, but yeah, let's probably discuss on the next call how we can speed that up. Okay, other comments from the team? All right, thank you. Alexei, you're next.
So last week I was migrating machines from DigitalOcean to Hetzner. Most of them are migrated, although we actually occurred error with wrong IP assignation. So some time was spent on investigating how did that happen. Also, I'm planning to migrate the last three, which is also RPC nodes this week. Also, I'm planning to introduce pull request with Terraform and everything in it, so that it was refactored, and I believe it's now easy to use. So PR will come very soon.
Okay. Any comments from the team? Yeah, just one comment from me. Let's try to finish this migration as soon as possible. I was expecting that would happen last week. I believe we talked on Thursday. So try to move those machines as quickly as possible, please.
Okay, so we're talking about moving
RPC nodes.
Yeah, from Bootstrap.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay, thank you. Ozgan, welcome back.
Hello, nice to see you guys again. So I was not here last week, so I will give updates from the previous week. Since we introduced OpenCL feature enabled on the desktop, we now need to release two versions, one of them with normal, one of them with OpenCL feature enabled. And for that, actually, we cannot use the tau reaction, so I changed the workflow for the publish. This is one task. And the other task is actually enabling the OpenCL feature itself on the desktop application, which also requires some other changes in the workflow. The whole week was spent on experimenting with workflows. I managed to get rid of tau reactions from our workflow, so now we have more granular control over the workflow. Just today, we finalized the OpenCL PR. Thanks to Ivan and Nazar for that. While I was away, they took care of some things, so it made the process faster. And today, I believe all the tests are done, and it was approved by Nazar. So after a few more hours, the tests are finished. It will be merged. And as the next step, I will focus on the publish workflow. And that will get rid of the tau reactions. That was depending on the OpenCL PR. That's why I waited for the OpenCL PR. And after that, I'm planning to implement the rotating logs. The feature on the Tokyo tracing is already there as a pull request. While I was away, there were no update on that, so I just put another comment on there to await the PR. If it's still I don't know, delayed, I can just fork the repository and implement the rotating logs from the fork. So that's my plan.
Awesome. That sounds like a good progress and good plan. Any comments from the team? All right. Shamil, what's going on the DSN side?
Okay. Last week I worked mostly on the DSN features, and I made a minor farmer improvement. I added the relay server integration for farmer that enables farmer to work using a single external port. That was the second prototype. I created a prototype for the networking parameters persistence for the DSN and added a new request response protocol for object mappings to the DSN. The last two PRs are being reviewed. My goal for start of the week is to merge active DSN PRs with all review fixes. After that, I will be available for the next task. That's it.
All right. Any questions from the team to Shamil? Cool. Justin, what can you share?
Yeah, so last week I was with the business team for the business offsite. So we spent a lot of our time mostly just going over long-term planning on the community engagement and support side, moving into Gemini phases 2 and 3 and onward. So this week I'm mostly going to be working on kind of creating an action plan of actionable items for most of what we discussed throughout that week, and starting to implement most of those features. Mostly on my end will be focused on support and engagement and education. Also documentation and those kinds of things.
Cool, thank you. Daria, what about you?
Well, I have a little milestone this week with Subspace. I have proposed code optimization and you have implemented it. So it's my first contribution to Subspace code. It was based on the fact that solution range for blocks is contained entirely within voting range of blocks, so you don't have to call database twice in some cases. So Nazar implemented that change and merged it. And for else, I was working on editing now the spec, so it's up to date with code, and we have cleared a bunch of the items in a meeting with Nazar, but there's still a lot to go. So I'll continue write-ups this week, and it would be nice to meet. We can discuss it in protocol meeting in more detail.
Yeah, let's have something on the calendar this week again. All right, on my side, I have spent as usual a bunch of time reviewing pull requests from the whole team. Thanks for the great work. That was quite a lot this week. On the implementation side of things, I have done some additional optimizations on the farmer side. For instance, limiting the number of object mappings per plot that was unbounded before. And now the limit is about 100 megabytes, but it never actually reaches that. It will try to prune things off a little bit earlier before that in batches. Then there were some fixes to the latest changes we've done to the farmer. Especially with new separation for different disks for different plots, such that we can actually issue a new snapshot that is still compatible with Gemini 1, so we can test those improvements. And I have done some benchmarks for that. I have tried to recommit 100 gigabyte plot, and that actually decreased time from about 21 minutes to about 15 minutes. And it seems like it is recommitting at the same speed as it can read the disk itself. So it's not like CPU bound, and it's just disk bound in terms of sequential read, which is exactly what we want. We want to recommit as quickly as we can read the data. And most of the writes are batched. So that was a good confirmation of the latest changes. Done the optimization that Daria mentioned for the lookup. We were doing 2 lookups in many cases. In most cases, we can actually do 1, and that will be sufficient. And then there were some other minor tweaks and some preparations for the for the work I will be doing this week, which is try to make the fast sync, how it's called in Substrate CLI parameters work, which will mean we'll be basically able to do something like light client sync in terms of just monitoring headers and not downloading the whole bodies on the node side. And then at the very end, once we've synced, we can download the whole state snapshot. And that's how we can get our node up to date much quicker than downloading like 70 gigabytes from the network. So that is my focus this week in terms of the code to improve the sync and just farming experience in general for the users. And I was also working on the prototype of like action list. What we need, what else we need to do for the farming experience optimizations. I'll try to turn that into a set of tickets and maybe some like more elaborate roadmap kind of document for the rest of the team. I have already shared the first draft with Shamil and got some useful feedback. So those two things are, I think, my primary goal for this week. Any comments, questions from the team? All right. Arthur, Jeremiah, do you have anything to share before we close the recording?
Arthur, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I attended the offsite last week as well for the business meeting. Other than that, no other updates on my end.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give my updates after the recording goes there.
All right. Thanks everyone for the great work last week. Hope for even more work and useful changes this week. And thanks everyone on YouTube for watching. See you.